got some wrecking to do. I'll meet you at the finish line!
No, wait! Fix it! Get behind me!
One more!
I'm not through with you yet.
Up we go!
Look at that, it's his little friend. Let's watch us die together, shall we?
No!
It's game over for both of you.
No. Just for me. I'm bad, and that's good. I will never be good, and that's not bad. There's no one I'd rather be than me.
Why are you going into the law? No, yes, no, yeah, no, go into the law.
Future Carry here. All right. Several people contributed to this video, and it was very generous of them to do so. Contributing to this video does not necessarily mean they endorse my position or my ideas or anything else. They did it strictly for the educational purposes only. I greatly appreciate their assistance. I don't know what else to say. I want to emphasize, don't give them any hate or malcontent. They were just trying to help out some weird guy on the internet who's trying to make a basic educational video. Warning, F-bombs are armed and may be dropped, probably not. This is supposed to be a completely blasé and indifferent study on the nature of different types of firearms over history. We're going to start with the Flintlock.
My name is Alex, and I'm a volunteer with Washington Crossing Historic Park. Today I'm going to be demonstrating how a Continental soldier would load and fire his musket. Now, a soldier would start by taking a cartridge from his cartridge box, and a cartridge is a paper tube that contains black powder and a musket ball. A soldier was trained to load and fire 3 times in a minute. So he would start by biting off the end of the cartridge to open it up. He would pour some gunpowder into the priming pan. He would put the rest of the gunpowder and the musket ball down the barrel. Draw his ramrod. Ram the cartridge home so it's firmly seated and ready to fire. After his musket was loaded, the soldier would come to the position of shoulder arms and he would be given these 3 commands. Make ready. Present. Fire. Thank you for being with us today at Washington Crossing Historic Park.
And thank you very much. Okay. We're now going to move on to the percussion cap rifle.
Hello there. Today I'm going to be talking about the Springfield Model 1861 rifle. The first step in loading the Springfield was to take a cartridge, and then they would tear it with their teeth. And then they would load the gunpowder into the barrel. And then I'm not using real bullets for safety measures, but I am going to crumple up this cartridge and make it the bullet. And then the soldier would draw the ramrod, put it down the barrel, and they would be very careful to push it down with just the tip of their finger here to make sure the gun would not go off and hurt them severely. They would tamp it down, and then they would remove the ramrod and load it back into their case, but being very careful to just use it with the pinky, not the whole hand, for the same reason, to not hurt their hand. Then the gun would be brought up to ready, and the soldier would half cock it, take the percussion cap from the cap pouch, put it on the nipple, and now the gun was ready to fire. So then we come to the order ready. The soldiers would put their feet in an L formation, full cock, and then aim. They'd bring the gun up, and then fire. Then they'd return, and the process would repeat. Fire.
That's wonderful. Now we're going to move on to the breech load lever action. Okay, so that's the basically the various muskets of history, right? Granted, I understand the breech load is not a musket in the traditional sense. That's okay, fine. I want to point out those were all not considered firearms under U.S. federal law because they're loose powder. You can load them from, say, a powder horn. Even though that last one uses a paper cartridge and loads with a paper cartridge, it's still considered loose powder. It's not until you get into the metallic self-contained cartridge that you become a firearm under U.S. federal law. That brings us to this, the revolver. Now, in theory, or in practice really, as you crank the hammer back, this piece here turns. Fire and turn. Okay? What's going on is a series of chambers. You can see two of them right here are filled with powder and shot. And because this is a black powder, a nipple right here is where the cap will go. This is also considered not a firearm because it is a loose powder. First you half cock and you turn it and you pour the powder, put a shot in, repeat that for all, I think it's 8 cylinders. And then you actually ram it home, this ramrod here. Now there's literally hundreds of videos talking about these guns. In fact, this is a Colt Navy revolver. I believe this is exactly like the Army revolver, except So this scroll work here. That's my understanding. There are many different types of revolvers, including the swing gate and swing cylinder type that are much easier to load. All right, so the next is semi-auto. The way it works is something will cause this piece, referred to variously as the slide, to come back. Now I'm actually holding it open with the bolt hold open right now. It'll eject a spent shell casing, and the spring will then cause it to snap back forward. These are snap caps, so work with me here. Discharge, and the next one will come out, and the next one after, or the last one will come out, and the next one after it will load. For handguns, that's mostly it. There is the Derringers, which are a single barrel with a barrel with a round in it, or multiple barrels with rounds in it, and as you squeeze that trigger, barrels will discharge. I don't have any examples of those, so I can't really show you one. This brings us to the next evolution of the rifle, which was the lever action. This is the rifle you know from Old West films. Concept is really pretty simple. This lever here, swing it down, bolt will come back, a loading ramp will lift a new shell up into position, bring the lever back, the bolt goes forward, the loading ramp will go back into the down position, and the weapon is ready to fire. When you turn it again, or cycle it again, the empty shell casing will be flung out, a fresh round will be inserted, and you're ready to fire again. I wish I had some snap caps for this. I don't. One of the dangers of loaner guns. Also, I believe that the rear sight is supposed to be there, and it's not. Wonder what happened. Okay. The next evolution of the rifle. First of all, why did the lever action go away? Well, it's because the troops in war have to prone out. When you are proned out, you can't really cycle the lever too well. That is why they developed the bolt action. And the bolt action, for most bolt actions, charging handle is off to the side, and you turn it, bring the bolt back, manually push it forward, and close it again. The weapon is ready to discharge. Then manually turn it, pull it back, the empty shell casing will come out, and fresh shell casing will be inserted. This is a detachable magazine, bolt action. Most bolt actions that actually saw military service don't have a detachable magazine. To the best of my knowledge, only the SMLE did. There you go. Pretty simple. The next evolution of the firearm was the pump action, which I did not have at the time of original recording. So, generally speaking, the shells will go into a tube magazine, although that's not a universal fact. There are fixed box magazines and detachable box magazines. A little tab prevents the slide or foregrip or whatever you want to call it for moving back. And as you move it back, the loading ramp will lower and the bolt will move back. A single shell will move into the loading ramp. And from there, as it moves forward again, the loading ramp comes back up and the bolt moves forward. With the gun now in battery, as you squeeze the trigger, the hammer falls, and the gun goes bang. As you slide the foregrip back again, the empty shell will eject and the process will repeat. The next important evolution is self-loaders. Now, you might think that self-loaders were originally developed for military service. They were not. In fact, the militaries of the world were very, very slow to adopt the self-loader for infantry weapons, at least, infantry rifles. It was not until World War II when the U.S. adopted the M1 Garand and M1 and 2 carbines that self-loader for infantry was widely adopted. There are a few examples from before that, and I don't mean the BAR, the Shosho, the Bill Lewis gun. I mean infantry rifles, rifleman rifles. The Russian SVT, I believe it is, was one of the very few examples, but these were also for very limited specific infantry personnel. I do not have an M1 Garand. I carried one when I was at boot camp, a DeMille M1. What I do have access to is an SKS, which, by the way, I love these guns. The SKS was adopted by the Russians just after World War II. There's many varieties. I believe this is a Chinese version. Writing is actually not particularly legible anymore, so I'm not sure. But at any rate, there's many versions of the SKS. Two of them in particular that are coming to mind is the Yugoslavian and I believe Bulgarian variant, which had a rifle grenade attachment. This is important because to operate a rifle grenade, what you would have to do is engage a gas cutoff because you had to insert a blank, very powerful blank, an overpowered under normal circumstances blank, because that would shoot a rod out of the barrel. The end of that rod, out past the muzzle, was the grenade itself. These were used extensively in World War I, World War II. Actually, as far forward as the U.S. invasion of Panama in 1981, there were rifle grenades in service. Not with the United States, with the Panamanian armed forces. The reason that I bring that up is that gas cutoff valve would also be a very highly effective way of converting this to a bolt-action rifle. Ask me how I know. So another common variant used a detachable magazine. Now this is a fixed magazine, which means it can't be removed. It can be opened. Not every fixed magazine rifle could be opened, but most could. To operate this, there we go. You would insert a clip. This is actually a clip, right? This is a magazine. This is a clip. I do know the difference, but I use them interchangeably just to piss people off. All right. Insert the clip. Push them in. Apparently that one was overloaded. pull the bolt back because there was a bolt hold open that is now out of the way. Release. The weapon is now loaded. Discharge the weapon, and at least in theory, this gas system will push, in this case, one plunger looking rod, pushes another plunger, which will throw the bolt open, and then it closes on its own. I would love to see an American company start producing these again. And I'm going to go there. I want to see it with a gas cutoff valve, detachable magazine, and, excuse me a second, right here, you see these two lips? That is the guide for the clip. Maximum flexibility. Next evolution is, of course, assault weapons and other detachable magazine self-loaders. Now, this is not an assault weapon. It is not. This is my AR-15. It is semi-automatic only. I can't even convert this properly to a automatic only because I know somebody who destroyed an AR-15 by converting it to an automatic only configuration, and oh boy, did that turn out badly. Detachable magazines and self-loader, but other than that, the fundamental difference between this and, say, the SKS is fairly minimal. Right, this is a very basic primer on different types of firearms through the ages. From the Flintlock to the most modern civilian legal rifles, of course, there's more advanced restricted military weapons, the belt-fed machine guns, the hopper-fed machine guns, the chain-fed, which, according to everybody else on Earth other than myself, is a very distinct and different thing, and automatic weapons. Just because it's belt-fed does not necessarily mean it's an automatic weapon. That's not intrinsically true. The Mark 18 was a belt-fed bolt-action grenade launcher. The Mark 19 that succeeded it was a belt-fed automatic-only grenade launcher. And just because it's automatic doesn't necessarily mean it's or burst or some other quick fire capability. Doesn't necessarily mean it's belt-fed. M16, M16A2, AK-47, AK-74. It's a very, very long list. I hope this has helped you to at least kind of understand the different types of firearms through history. Leave questions in the comments. I will eventually get back to you as soon as YouTube deigns to let me know. If you're on Rumble, it'll take me a little bit longer to get back to you. I'm sorry, it just is what it is. If you're on BitChute, I might get back to you, I might not. In the meantime, keep calm and mandatory carry on.
Future Carry here. So this project has been on hold for at least 2 years. I know it was at least a year and a half ago that I went back to my natural hair color. And I know it's very clumsy and not very pretty. All right. most of the weapons were loaners, so I was kind of working them, using them for the first time. And I understand. First of all, I made a couple of relatively minor mistakes. The lever action and pump shotgun, they both use a ramp to lift the shell up into the into position for the firing chamber, unless of course you have a type that used a box magazine. That's a thing, but it's a very rare thing. I've only heard of one for lever action. I can't even tell you what that was. I've actually heard of a belt fed lever action. It was something that MCX did using their belt fed upper receiver assembly, their lever action lower receiver assembly, and they never actually fired it, to the best of my knowledge. It's it's considered a cursed gun. I can't imagine why. There are more box magazine fed shotguns, and almost all of those are, all the ones I'm aware of, are detachable box fed. Also, pump action does not necessarily mean shotgun, and shotgun does not necessarily mean pump action. I just wanted to clarify that before somebody jumped in the comments with that. An important difference between my rifle and an assault weapon: my rifle does not have a burst or automatic fire capability. If I were to modify mine first of all, I could only really modify it to an automatic. And there are plenty of examples out there of AR-15s that were converted to automatic that exploded. I wish I had one available. I don't as of this moment, so it is what it is. Don't do it. All right. I actually witnessed one that happened, and it was specifically a destruction test. Brent wanted to see how many rounds or how hard he had to run the thing to get the gun to explode. Well, he got through, I think it was 3.5 mags. When the gun actually exploded is a little bit of an overstatement. It shattered at just forward of the firing chamber, and then the barrel fell off. It was the most fucking incredible, weird thing I've ever seen. Now, there's a much more famous example from the Try Guys of when they did the exact same thing, and well, that guy's lucky he didn't die, because it literally grenaded in his hands, and the bolt, if it hadn't have held on somehow, it would have hit him in the head, and it probably would have impaled him. That would have been a bad day. So please, don't do it. Now, if a circumstance arises where you have to convert hundreds of AR-15s to automatic or burst fire guns, believe me, somebody will get you those conversion kits, and those conversion kits will probably include barrels. Don't install the barrel unless it's part of an upper receiver yourself. All right? Let a professional armorer do that for you. They might even, be standing in front of a hall saying, okay, everybody do this and do this and do this, but then let them do that final step. They know what they're doing. You don't. Let them do that. All right. This is actually very important. This is a major safety issue. I've never heard of a barrel breaking off quite at the collar. Not quite like that. The only ones I'm aware of are the ones where the firing chamber exploded, Try Guys, or the barrel cracked, Brent, and Now, those are the only ones I've witnessed to any degree. But it is a real potential issue. You don't want to be that guy. If you have any further questions, please leave a comment. I will try to get back to you. In the meantime, keep calm, mandatory carry on.
The gun has played a critical role in history, an invention which has been praised and denounced, served hero and villain alike, and carries with it moral responsibility. To understand the gun is to better understand history.